Does this look soft to you? Well, I'll tell you what. There's one part of our bodies that's soft, and it ain't soft all the time, if you catch my meaning. Ric Flair! New York City Ric Flair! You're gonna find out what hard is all about, because from the time I get in the ring with you, Guppy, it's gonna be a hard night, all night long.
Gonna stick you in the eye with a foreign object. Gonna poke you in the eye with a foreign object.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Blue Thunder Pod. I'm your host, Billy Sullivan, and we gonna be talking about Raw, because this right here is the Raw review. Raw taking place to earlier tonight, September 30th of 2024. I wrote 23 on my notes because I am a moron. But yeah, 2024 in a red hot Ford Center in Evansville, Indiana. I did not realize Evansville, Indiana, was big enough to host a venue like this. It's like a 10,000 seat arena. Crowd is like super hot, and you know what? God bless them, because they deserve the crowds that they're getting lately. These shows are fun as fuck, and this one, it just continued that trend for me. I haven't really been catching up on SmackDown. I know it's like a lot of Roman Reigns stuff and Roman rules and everything, but like Raw has just been a blast. I gotta start picking up the slack on SmackDown too, because unless they have different writers, and I do believe, I'm almost positive that it's a whole different group of writers or creatives than from like the first year that Triple H was in charge, because all the fat has been trimmed, except for one thing. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's the stories are all cohesive and they tie together, and yeah, they go too long, but that's just a WWE thing. That's people like that too. I mean, it's what the fan base wants, so that's not even really like a negative. That's always going to be a thing for the Fed, for WWE, is the long storylines. And that's fine. That's fine. But all the other stuff, the aesthetic stuff, the in-ring stuff, the treating the fan base like they are buffoons and that need to be spoon-fed everything, that's all out the window. And that still existed for the first like a year that Triple H was running the show. I don't know, maybe it's just the Vinciness had to wear off, and before he could really have his own autonomy and get his own show going the way that he envisioned it. But I really think it's probably surrounding himself with really good, smart, creative people, because these shows fly by these days. Speaking of Vince, I'm not really going to get into it. I was planning on doing a full review of Mr. McMahon, the Mr. McMahon, the Netflix documentary, but it's not worth it. It was a puff piece. It was trash, total trash, made for casuals and non-wrestling fans. So the first 5 episodes were just recaps of crap that every one of you guys has heard a million times, and most of them are WWE pilled lies from all the documentaries that were on the network and Peacock and stuff. It was just all that nonsense, making Vince look like a total badass for the first 5 episodes. They paid lip service basically in the 6th episode to what a monster the man is, and really all that came out of it was I have a newfound respect for both Steph and Shane McMahon, but specifically Shane McMahon came off as just a good dude and a smart dude who was shot down at every turn by his megalomaniacal bastard of a dad. But that's all I'm going to say about that because it was a waste of time. If you haven't watched it, skip it because you guys know everything that happens in it anyway. Or else you wouldn't be listening to a wrestling podcast. So, Raw in Evansville. Crowd, like I said, hot as hell. The show kicks off with a little recap of what we ended the show on, the main event of last week's evening. In my opinion, the best thing that WWE has done on TV in forever, as far as like just overall impact. The Jey Uso clean victory over Braun Breaker. Just be Braun Steiner. Just be Braun Steiner. Braun Breaker is a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out character. You're too awesome to have a dumb name. But the match itself ruled. It was Jey Uso's best singles match he's ever had by a million miles. The best super kick he's thrown in like 10 years. But more importantly than the match itself and it just ruling in the crowd, roof blowing off the top of the building, what it accomplishes is that it now, going forward, matches on TV, on WWE television, have stakes. I can't tell you the last time they changed a major title changed hands on TV, on free TV. And, you can't do that all the time, but if you do it once in a great while, it gives everybody that 1% of doubt and hope. And, going into that match, everybody was like, oh, well, we know what's going to happen. It's these two have good chemistry. It's the best that Jey Uso has looked in a long time, but like Braun's going to retain. He's only been the IC champ for a short time in like the parlance of Triple H. But then the shock win with the maybe most over babyface in the company. Yeet, by the way. That flavors how we as consumers, as viewers, are going to watch SmackDown and Raw going forward because you never know what's going to happen. They had gotten away from that for years and years. And yet another very wise decision from the current regime putting together these television programs. Anyway, we got the recap. Recap was fun to watch, just because it was so cool. The end of Raw last week. We then cut to Jey Uso, and he's got the Steadicam. It's his turn this week, but it's dope looking because he's doing like the Rocky thing, where he's got a bunch of kids behind him with all like the Usi shades and all the swagged out Yeet gear. That dude is just so charismatic and over. I love him. I've never come around so hard, good or bad, on a wrestler as I have on Jey Uso. I went from absolutely despising him to like, he's my favorite thing on Raw. I think, I do wonder what's going on with Jimmy. There were some cryptic tweets from, his dad, Rikishi, about like pray for Jimmy. And then he's, kind of walked it back, said that Jimmy's doing fine, but I don't know. It was weird. And it just made me think of him seeing Jey have all this like incredible success. Hope Jimmy's doing okay. So Jey Uso's doing the Rocky walk with all the kids behind him. And finished up with like his little brother next to him with the Uso shades on, and goes through the curtain out through the crowd because he's a babyface, Jon Moxley, and dapped up a fan. I noted, I think Jey Uso and Will Ospreay are the only two wrestlers in the big promotions who dap up ringside fans like regularly, like non-plant ringside fans. First thing I noticed when Jey Uso hit the ring is, boy, that fucking Intercontinental title belt is beautiful now. They made a couple small alterations to it from Braun's reign. They basically just colored the globe blue and put like another little offset blue globe, not like it's on. It's like right off of the main plate, the big plate. It's not quite a side plate. It's like it's a little unconventional looking, but it is dope. It's my favorite belt in the company by a million miles now. It's beautiful. The Intercontinental belt has like a great lineage of badass looking belts, and it looks good on Jay because he's oozy as fuck. I was talking to some friends about what Jay Uso's like his like fan club, his fan base, like Taylor Swift has the Swifties. What should Jay Uso's be? And I think we landed on through brainstorming landed on Uzi Fruits. So I am fully an Uzi Fruit at this point. Jay's cutting a promo. He's one of the only guys still. He's totally comfortable. This was very clearly an off-the-cuff promo because you could see him like thinking, what am I going to say next? Because it was a yeet callback and repeat kind of thing. And he didn't really know what he was going to say next, but he's just so confident and comfortable out there that it all worked. And crowd ate it up because he's oozy as fuck. Day one-ish, baby. At this point, Braun, I'm just going to call him Braun from now on because he deserves better. He deserves better. Braun hits the ring, and he's cutting a pretty good promo, and there are a few assholes doing the what chant. I don't understand why, because these were two guys cutting awesome promos. And also, if you're going to be doing a thing with Braun and Jey Uso in the ring together, and you want to like do the ignorant bullshit where you yell out something whenever there's a pause when Braun's talking, at least be a little clever and yeet. Do yeet. It's fucking Jey Uso out there. Yeet it. Don't do anything. Don't do any what adjacent bullshit. You should be put into a cannon and shot to the moon if you do what chants at a wrestling show in 2024. Don't do any of that stuff, but at least yeet would be like on brand and would fit a little bit. Surprisingly, Braun seemingly like earnestly congratulated Jey Uso, said that he was the better man on the day and promised him he wasn't going to attack him or spear him or anything, and he didn't. He just started to hit the road, and then Oos gave him the kind of the rub back and said, "Hey, you know what? There's a lot of dogs here in Indiana tonight." And Braun got his and thank the Lord that Pat McAfee is no longer on this program, because I would at this point have to hear him doing his goddamn ridiculous moron bark. Boy, this announce crew. Well, I mean, Wade Barrett is Wade Barrett. He's like an NPC. He's like an announcer on a WWE 2K video game or whatever. But the new dude, whose name is escaping me right now, it'll come to me. But the new guy, I love him. I think he's absolutely fantastic. My general preference as a wrestling fan is, the Excalibur type, the Ian Riccaboni type, Mauro Ranallo, like the calling every move. I like that nerdy stuff, but like for WWE, what they're going for, this dude rules. I think he's like a better version of Michael Cole. I wonder what Michael Cole would be these days if he did not ever have to go through 30 years of Vince in his ear, because he got better after Vince left. But like if he would have just had all that time to develop his own voice, I bet he would be awesome. I don't like him. I think he's bad, but I think he could have been good. Anyway, the new guy rules. Next up was the one complaint that I do still have about Raw, and I don't know why they do it, because it's dumb, and it's the only thing. These shows fly by except for when they do this one dumb thing. Rey Mysterio, music hits, got his entrance for the match he was about to have, gets to the ring, and we do the cut to commercial with Rey, just one competitor in the ring. Then when they come back from commercial, they showed some B-roll bullshit, and then they did like a Dom and Liv pre-taped skit from outside the area. So like Ray is obviously standing in the ring like an asshole, waiting for all this. So watching on the Titantron, I suppose. In the sketch with the Judgment Day and Liv, Finn Balor is talking to Dirty Dom on the phone. He's got him on speaker, and Dom is holding the phone like right up to his ear, but the speaker is so goddamn loud that it would have blown Dom's eardrums out. But it's the point was to make us audience members aware that Finn's not here. He's in traffic or he missed a flight or something. I forget what the excuse was, but he's not in the building is what he's saying. Obviously he's in the building because they don't spoon feed it to you quite so much anymore. But, I mean, that was signposted pretty well, ahead of time. So after Ray waited in the ring like an asshole for 15 minutes, his opponent was Xavier Woods, which, they're doing some interesting stuff with him. He seems like he's maybe turning heel. It's likely he's going to turn heel on Kof. My hope is that that's all kind of a ruse and both guys turn heel, because I would love to see another New Day heel run together. I'm a firm believer in New Day should never break up for like social reasons as much as they're just great together. But they could be bad guys and they're both real good at it. I got to say though, every time I see Xavier Woods, and I have been a huge fan of the man for a decade. I enjoy his streams. I enjoy his ring work. I enjoy his promos. He's funny. He's wonderful. But every time I see him, I have to be reminded of Brad Maddox's weird little cuck boner. So fuck Brad Maddox for ruining, to a certain extent, Xavier Woods for me. The match was amazing. It's Ray and Xavier. I believe that Rey Mysterio must drink the blood of infants because it is the only explanation for what he is. Because what he is not only 50 years old, but he's like thick as fuck. He looks like Joe Rogan with a mask on. And somehow he has the same moveset that he had when he was like a filthy animal 25 years ago. He did a headbutt in this match, like to Xavier's sternum that it knocked the wind out of me just watching it. Ray is goddamn believable. And to the point I was making about Xavier turning heel, the way that he won this match, which was what he did, he made it look like it was accidental, but not really. He made it look like he was trying to make it look like it was accidental. He pulled off Ray's mask, and he covered his face up. He did the Penta thing, uno miedo. So Ray scrambling to cover his face, he got pinned, and Xavier was like, "Oh, me, uno, what? How? I don't understand." But yeah, he did it intentionally and got the win. When the Lucha Bros do finally join WWE, and who knows when that'll be because there's conflicting reports everywhere. Ray should talk to Penta about mask security because his mask just flopped off of his head like a Halloween mask or something. And Penta, whenever anybody does the thing where they pull his mask off to get a win over him, it takes like 3 minutes of unlacing. Ray needs to invest in one of those. He doesn't want to lose another match via uno miedo. There's a segment up next where Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods are backstage talking back and forth. Kofi tells Xavier that that Kofi was given a shot at the Intercontinental title for next week on Raw, and Xavier starts to like kind of get pissed at him. And Kofi says, "But no, dog. Like I get you're the quarterback. I told Pierce that it should go to you, and he agreed. So I'm giving you my title shot." And Woods is very happy about that, obviously. And at this time, like while they're talking, a figure way in the back. Triple H loves his background and stuff. Somebody did the Michael Myers steps out from behind the hedge in Halloween thing. Everybody was saying it's Karrion Kross, but like he was not dressed like Karrion Kross. It was impossible to see who it was, but it was a very pointed stepping out and staring at these two. Now I know storyline, it would make sense for it to be Karrion Kross, but this dude was dressed like L.A. Knight or something. And we saw Karrion later, and he also seemed to have short hair, and Karrion's got that long, scraggly stuff happening now. We saw later what he was dressed like Karrion Kross dresses with the leather jacket and he edgy bad guy thing. This dude looked like a wrestler. He had like a logo T-shirt and like Zubaz. Probably a gimmick bag too. And it looked like he had short hair. Anyway, next up, Lyra Valkyria versus Zoe Stark in another banger, because these matches are all bangers. These two did have like a little bit of a timing thing in the middle of the match, but it didn't take away from it. It was a badass match. We'll say Lyra's entrance would be like a 5-star entrance if only she didn't have that dog shit like NPC like low end video game character music. They really, for about half the roster, they need a serious upgrade. Whenever the new person comes in, it can't be soon enough. But Lyra, everything else about her presentation kicks ace. I believe Zoe Stark got the win here. I don't have it in my notes, but it was another very exciting, fun match to watch. And I like that Zoe Stark has some personality, a little character, as does Lyra. They, like all of the women in the division, kind of were given characters all at one time. So yeah, I think Triple H listens to the program. So if you're listening to Triple H, please just get rid of the commercial break after the entrance thing, and you will have a perfect show. There was a Caden and Katana little segment, and they have characters now too, which is wow, because for like 2 years we like to party and we lose every match, and now they're like, one's got a fucking big broken nose with like a Cody-esque sparkly mask, and she's screaming and showing more fire and personality than she has in any point in her WWE career. It was at this point in this little promo thing that I realized I think there are only like 4 singles competitors in the entire WWE women's division. I can think of Rhea, Liv, Bayley, and then asshole Nia, Jax. That's it. Everybody else, every other woman is in a tag team or like a trio, right? Comments below if you disagree, or if you can think of anybody else, because I guess somebody like Natalia or whatever, but like nobody of consequence is in the singles division. But besides those 4, it's the only 2 stories going on with the women's singles division. Now the tag division is becoming more dynamic and more exciting, but like, and honestly, it'd be a good time to break up the tag champs. Let them have their match. After watching Bianca Belair's match with Io a couple weeks ago, they're wasting her. They're wasting her in that tag team. She needs to be putting on those bangers. Like, I think she was making a statement in that match. And there's a bunch of tag teams now. There's a bunch of women tag teams that are kind of interesting. So the belts don't have to be on those 2 anymore. Next pay-per-view, after whatever it is, after Bad Blood, let that be the blow-off. Let those 2, Jade and Bianca, break up. I think it's going to be ugly for Bianca, or for Jade rather, because my worry when they tagged was that the divide between them talent-wise was so vast that it would really stand out. And Jade has stepped up a ton, especially with her selling and stuff. But I think when they're head-to-head, it's going to be Stark and not Zoe Stark, if you know what I'm saying. Fuck me. So now the cage comes down into the ring, and Captain Pierce, Paul Pierce, what's his? I forget. He's Vanilla. I forget his first name. GM Pierce is basically cutting a promo, giving it his all. Putting his heart into it, trying to sound fired up and excited because he's introducing the two guys that are going to be in the match. That's the one that I think most people are looking forward to for this upcoming pay-per-view. But I'm sorry, Pierce, you are no Aldis. You're just vanilla. And I don't think there's anything you can do about it, unfortunately. I appreciate the effort, but you're just bald like in a suit. And Nick Aldis is a god among men. So Hell in a Cell is going to fucking kick ass. I am absolutely sure of that. But it is absolutely time for CM Punk to be involved in something bigger, like towards the top of the card, trying to win one of the two titles, the two big boys, because that's what he is. He's CM goddamn Punk. I heard a theory. It's not even a rumor. It was a theory, but it does make some sense. The theory goes that the reason that this Drew Punk feud has gone on so incredibly long is that Triple H is kind of on the down low testing Punk out. He's putting him in just a blood feud, not like a consequential to titles or future storylines really. And it's been super entertaining. The matches actually, I think the Hell in a Cell's gonna rule, but the matches up until now have just been a little underwhelming, but like they've incredible chemistry otherwise. So it's kicked ass and it's been fun to watch and everything, but it's gone on forever. And the theory is that like Triple H still doesn't trust Punk, which, would track because he hated his guts forever. And I know anything to do business and, sell houses and yada, yada. But I doubt Triple H's vitriol for CM Punk ever completely disappeared because Punk is still the same guy he has always been. He's the same guy he was in Ring of Honor. He's the same guy he was in AEW. In his first WWE run, I think the Triple H, I think the theory might be onto something. And hopefully this is the blow off. I want blood. I want lots of blood, buckets of blood. Because I want Punk at the end of the match looking like he looked after the dog collar match with MJF. Because I think that going brutal and violent is the best way for these two to kind of snap out of the malaise of the previous matches that they had, which all things considered should have been much, much better. But I think this one's going to do it. And I think that the violence is going to be the thing that helps bring it there. Next, we see Braun wearing a shirt that he must have, like myself, I took my family, my daughter, very, very big fan of the book. This Friday took them to see The Wild Robot, which is an absolutely fantastic film. Highly recommend. It's darkly funny, very, very much for adults as much as kids. People say that about like Pixar movies all the time, but a lot of like very dark humor that is very, very funny. Beautifully animated. All the animals in the movie look like they stepped out of like Starry Night. It looks like an oil painting. But anyway, it was a very emotional movie. So and I am a crier. I enjoy a good cry during an emotional part in any media that I'm watching, even wrestling occasionally. Shout out Mark Briscoe. But anyway, Braun Strowman must have also gone to see The Wild Robot this weekend as well, because he was wearing a shirt that said "One Big Sob." And, I did more than one big sob during that movie, but Braun must have at least had one because he's advertising it on his shirt. So I'm thinking he must have had a good cry. And same, Braun, same. R-Truth comes out and does something with The Miz. I don't know. My thought from this was R-Truth must have one hell of a moisturizing routine, because I know the black don't crack thing, but I think that's racist kind of. I think that it's just that he moisturizes. I know that the black community does a much better job than we whites as far as moisturizing our skin. Not to pinch anything from one of my heroes, Bill Burr, but like we all have ashy elbows too. We just don't do anything about it. R-Truth looks like he's about 32 years old. I think the man's 78. Next up, we got the LWO versus the Judgment Day 6-man tag. I really wish they would just break up the LWO and let those guys all have different individual characters. Let them, like, I still think that WWE kind of thinks that Mexican is a character. And that's like, you're a luchador. That's your character. Well, no, luchadors all have different characters. I mean, we'll see it when Penta's got a very defined character. When he comes to the Fed, maybe that'll snap them out of it and it'll spur them on to break up the LWO and let those guys go their own ways and have their own stories and feuds and characters. They did it with the women's division. Now I need them to do it with the luchadors. During this match, Wade Barrett said Cruz del Toro is one of the best luchadors on the planet. And is he really, Wade? I don't think he's even one of the best luchadors in the match that I'm currently watching. And it was a cheaty. Judgment Day wins, but again, it was a pin. So sweet. They're doing finishes on Raw again. Kick ace. Finn Balor comes out, cuts promo. Oh yeah, that was the payoff. That was the payoff. The Finn's not in the building. And yes, he was in the building. He came down and interfered, and that's Judgment Day won. And then Finn cuts a good promo, very like a fiery promo, but he does say something in Spanish. And speaking Spanish with a heavy Irish accent is a very funny sounding thing. Then Liv gets on the mic, and God almighty, she kicks ass. She's getting heat like fucking Don Callis or Dirty Dom at this point. She's such a good heel. I love her. And not in a like dude waiting at the airport at 5 a.m. for wrestlers to get off the plane way. I love her as a performer. She's awesome. Yeah, she's smoking hot too, but she's awesome. I have a question about the upcoming match though. A couple of things. Dom is very claustrophobic, they said, so he needs to talk to HR because that is workplace harassment if they're going to put him in a shark cage. And the other thing is, I get Dom is going to be in the shark cage, but aren't there 3 much more dangerous members of Judgment Day that are not going to be in shark cages? So what's that about? Next up, we got Chadwick and Kofi having a pretty great match, obviously. Brutus Creed's ridiculous laugh is wonderful. Also, Brutus Creed looks like he could have been in the show Trailer Park Boys. I love these guys, and I'm happy that they got a win here because they were starting to seem like enhancement talent for a while, and they're too good for that. The next show, Gunther walking down the hallway, and I had the thought that Gunther looks like he smells like a very nice, classy, and understated like aftershave. Like at all times. Like he's a manly, understated aftershave. But then next up, they let us know that my boyfriend Ilya Dragunov has a fucking torn ACL, so my night was absolutely ruined. The only thing that could have saved my night, finding out that Dragunov is out 6 to 9 months, god damn it, would be if they closed the show with like something absolutely insane that I'd never seen before. And what are the odds that that's going to happen? Gunther he comes out of the ring and cutting his promos. I'm not going to face Sammy because Sammy doesn't deserve it thing. I don't like this story. I don't think it makes sense. It doesn't fit Gunther's character. He would want his win back. Even Sammy comes down and then do a little back and forth, and he says, I beat all these guys that I'm proud of beating because they were real men. And for you, it was an embarrassment. I was embarrassed in front of my own family. I flew them in. I didn't parade them across television like you did, but my family was there, and I was humiliated. And my father said to me, and then he said something in German, and basically calling Sammy a bum and saying, "How could you lose to him?" Now, like, okay. So Gunther would want to get that win back. He would want to correct the mistake. He would want to have the match not gloat and definitively beat Sami Zayn. This doesn't make sense. I might be nitpicking, but like, you know what? I'm holding WWE now to a high standard because it kicks ass. And this stood out because I was a little like, it's not been the character that Gunther has been throughout his entire run, and it also just doesn't make logical sense. I'm looking forward to the match though, because it was my favorite WrestleMania match from this past Mania. So next up, it was the Awesome Truth against somebody I can't remember who, but the crux of it, the only thing that mattered was that the Miz turned heel on R-Truth, and the way he did that was I hesitate to call it a kick. He did like the softest little kitten toe push to R-Truth's chin, and then poor Truth had to sell it like he got hit with a Shawn Michaels super kick. It was awful looking. Miz is a heel again. I don't care. I think he should be hosting game shows because he would be very good at that. And he is not very good at wrestling. Then we get a backstage tease of Gunther and Braun facing off. And that's fucking sexy as fuck. Braun's laid off of the Tanner too a little bit, I think. He's looking more like his son is a little sun-kissed and not so much orange these days. It's really cool to see, being a wrestling fan for so many years. Jesus, 40 years. I've been a wrestling fan for 40 years. So fucking old. A wrestling fan for 40 years and watching all of the Steiner brothers' careers, basically. Watching Braun, it's cool. It's like seeing a Steiner, it is a Steiner, but a guy with the wrestling talent of specifically his uncle, Scott Steiner, but minus like the being dangerous and sociopathic. He's just like good at promos, and it doesn't seem like his brain is gonna pop from an aneurysm at any given time. He's got like all the good and none of the bad. He also, I noted, was sporting a really tight looking white guy fade. You don't see too many of those. And it looks dope. And all he has to do now is, if this was a face turn earlier in the night, love it, because I like him better as a face, as we saw in NXT. Now he just needs to get rid of the stupid cartoon Mike Tyson's Punch Out last name, because it's stupid, and he's better than that. The Monsters match, I forget what the name of the stip was the last. Last Monster Standing, I think, because it was a 10 count stipulation. The best Haas match I've seen, I don't know in how long, maybe ever. A bunch of gimmicked stuff like tables breaking and guardrails and stuff, but it all looked incredible. And these two just smacked the shit out of each other. I thought it was going to be hard to live up to the expectation that myself and a lot of people had after the build to this, because they did awesome shit during the build. But like, these guys just, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Bronson Reed brings out something in Braun that I haven't seen in like many years, since he was like feuding with Roman Reigns. It's the best Braun has looked by a million miles in forever. I didn't think he still had it in him. I really wish they would stop doing the bleep of the crowd where that's not a bleep, but they go silent when anybody says bullshit or asshole or whatever, it is very distracting. And this match ruled too hard to have that distracting nonsense. I really hope that when it goes to Netflix, they cut the shit with that. No pun intended. Don't cut the shit. Leave the shit in, because just let us hear the fans. Every kid has the internet. They all say cocksucker and motherfucker. You don't need to bleep out swear words. I realized during this match that I have always hated the big splash. Like obviously the dumb one, like the Warrior did, where it wasn't even off the top rope. But I never like superflies. Frog splashes, why? But like the big splash always looks kind of, I don't know, soft. Guys always look like they're kind of landing on their knees first, and it just never looked impactful. So I always thought it was a bad move. Bronson Reed's looks like it would fucking absolutely kill you if he did it to you. I don't know how he does it. And I mean, sleight of hand, the magic of a good wrestler, which he obviously is. It looks like he's just landing with all 400 plus pounds splat on his opponent every time he does it. I thought also during this match, boy, dream match for me. And again, how the times have changed. I'm doing dream matches in WWE. Bronson Reed versus Jacob Fatu. Think about that. That would be something else. Because Bronson Reed is a scary motherfucker, and so is Jacob Fatu. This match was just absolutely a spectacle. Is the best of what WWE does best. It reminded me of like the Brock Roman SummerSlam match with the backhoe and diving, tipping the ring over. Because they did do I will never not be a sucker for the gimmicked collapsing ring with two big giant monster in. And that's how like the match kind of ended. It was a superplex. The ropes all fell and it looked badass. It always looks badass when that happens. Like both guys were kind of down, and Bronson Reed's like laying over the steps. And at this point, Seth Rollins, who obviously we could see was perfectly healthy because he was at the Bears-Colts game where he got thrown over a guardrail doing a bit. So it was a matter of time before he was going to return. And this is where he did it. He came out and did the curb stomp on Bronson Reed onto the steps. And because it's no DQ, Braun was able to like barely get up to his feet and he got the win. But Bronson didn't. I mean, he looked just as strong in losing here as he did going in. And I'm kind of looking forward to now the Seth Bronson Reed matchup. Bronson Reed, like, man, if you would have told me 3 months ago that like maybe my two favorite wrestlers on WWE TV right now or in 3 months were going to be Jey Uso, Yeet, baby, and Bronson Reed, I would have checked out your head for blunt force trauma injury because no way I could have ever guessed that I would have come around like this. But you know what? Bronson Reed is awesome. And when you let talented people go out and do what they can do, awesome shit happens. And another really fun Raw. I'm going to start trying to do these every Tuesday for the Raw reviews, and then every Thursday morning, both will be, Tuesday morning for Raw reviews, Thursday morning for Dynamite reviews. I'm probably going to put up a very short Bad Blood preview prediction video / pod pretty soon too. So watch out for the AEW Dynamite. It's the 5th anniversary. I think there's going to be some big stuff happening come Thursday. And thank you guys for joining me, as always. Hope you stick with me. I sure like doing this. Because, boy, do I love pro wrestling. Bye.
He's simply ravishing.